let's talk quickly about the nutrition plan. So if you head to the app, you'll click on fuel and here will be all your nutrition plans. Your nutrition plans will be specified whether they're dairy-free, gluten-free, if they're vegetarian or vegan. So that will all be in the heading next to the name of the nutrition plan. They're named using girls' names just to make it easy for us to be able to talk to each other so we know exactly which nutrition plan we're talking about. Let's say, for example, you love the Erin breakfast and somebody else is asking a question about the Megan lunch. It makes it really easy for us to navigate, and I also thought it would be a bit of fun. It's not there so that you find your name and that's the specific nutrition plan for you. It's just that I liked to have some fun with it, really, and I wanted to have an easy way for us to be able to figure out which nutrition plan we're all talking about when we were sharing how much we loved it or we had a question about it. So they're all named something different. You can use any of the nutrition plans either in your calorie range or in the flexible category as well. If you didn't want a calorie range, that might mean you just have a little bit of trouble at the moment feeling comfortable with counting calories, and that's fine. There won't be calories specified for each recipe. I wanted to take the onus off every single meal and really calculating and pulling apart and analyzing every single meal. But you will find both in the subtitle and at the end of your nutrition plan, once you click into it, you will find the macronutrient breakdown. I think just for curiosity, I think it's really interesting for you to learn, but I don't want you to get too hung up on it. If it's in your calorie range and say your calorie range is 1800, you know that that nutrition plan is around about 1800 calories, and that's all you have to know. That's all you need to follow. It doesn't have to be down to the calorie, because you will soon realize that doing that, it is basically a dark hole that you don't want to get caught in. You don't want to spiral down like that, because honestly, it becomes a really tricky game. Calories in and calories out is not the biggest determinant of how you feel. So I'm more concerned about how you feel, giving you a range that is just a good framework for you to understand what works for your body and to not get too caught up in the numbers. Now, coffee and alcohol. I don't mind if you guys want to add a coffee in there. Try to make it black where you can, and I usually recommend that you do that after breakfast, especially because I know a lot of women who struggle with weight are struggling with stress as well, and I know that coffee can be a really big hit to your adrenals. However, I know that there's some of you that don't want to give up your daily coffee at all, and that's okay. You just do you, and you do whatever works for you, whether it's cow's milk or oat milk or whatever kind of milk that you like. I really want to show you that it doesn't have to be a terribly, boring or restricting process, that you can still enjoy things in your life and in your day within reason. There's also no alcohol that's allowed or I guess accounted for in FlowFit, but at the same time, a wine shared with friends when you haven't seen them in a really long time is really different, not only in a physical but an emotional way, versus, having a glass of wine because you're desperate to unwind at the end of the day because your day's been so crazy, stressful, and hectic. I see those as two really different things. And calories aside, one I feel is good for the soul and one is not so good for the soul. So I'll leave that up to you for you to discern whether or not having alcohol is right for you throughout this 6 weeks. FlowFit doesn't really account for it, but it's not to say that you can't have it. I would highly recommend that you consider taking this next 6 weeks, unless you have like your birthday or your wedding or something like that in the middle of this next 6 weeks, to just see how you feel without it. Just having a break from it and just seeing how that feels for your body, because this is all about experimenting and helping to understand our body. And one thing that we do need to be cautious of is anything that stops the digestion and absorption of our food, which is the thing that gives us energy. And alcohol can sometimes do that because it can take up so much energy and so much, it puts so much of a toll on our detoxification system. You will also notice in your nutrition plans that every single nutrition plan throughout the day will give you a time indication of when it's best to have your D's teas. So in the morning, first thing, you'll have your detox tea. Sometimes if I'm a little bit time poor throughout the day, I might mix that with a dessert tea, or I might even mix that with a de-stress tea. But I feel like in the morning detox, you definitely want to be having detox first thing in the morning. It is the most beneficial at that time. Doesn't mean it's not beneficial throughout the rest of the day, but that's the most beneficial time that you should really have it. So you'll see that there's detox in the morning upon waking. There is dessert in the afternoon. And this is especially for my girls who love to snack, who find it really tricky to get that sweet taste in their mouth without going and buying something like a chocolate bar or a lolly. So I really worked very hard to make something that tasted really sweet as nature would allow, because there's nothing artificial in there. There's not even any natural flavors in there. It's actually like pure herbs and pure plants in there to help you feel as though you were having something that felt like dessert, and you were really able to kind of, nip that craving in the butt and not make a decision that you would later regret. So that was kind of the intention with dessert. Well, not kind of the intention. That was the intention with dessert tea. So dessert tea is like the afternoon snack where you're kind of, either work has settled down and you're a little bit less stressed, so you might go for something, or maybe you skipped lunch and then your blood sugar has really plummeted, so you're really looking for something that will just give you quick energy. So this aims to actually help to balance out your blood sugar, because it's usually, cravings at that time are usually caused by blood sugar imbalance. So what we try to do is we pop that in at the time where you might make a decision that you might not be happy about yourself with later on. And then at night, before you go to bed, and 1 hour at least after your dinner, is the de-stress tea. The de-stress tea is such a beautiful calming tea. It helps to wind your body down, helps your brain to switch off, and it is really helpful for people who have trouble falling asleep. So some people will usually say, once I'm asleep, I'm good, I'm okay. But for people who have trouble falling asleep, I'm telling you, de-stress tea is magic. You'll also notice that there is a digestive shot in there. This digestive shot is so important. Everything in your nutrition plan is really there for such a specific reason. So I want to encourage you not to just go, oh, don't need that, don't need that, don't need that. The people that have the biggest success when it comes to FlowFit and get the best results, both physically and emotionally and mentally, are the people who implement everything as they see it in the nutrition plan, for sure. And like I said, that doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect with your meals, but definitely setting your body up to digest as best as you possibly can. That digestive shot is the bee's knees. It is the number one thing that people come back to me and say, that was game changing for me. So that, in conjunction with all the teas, in conjunction with the way that you're eating, is just going to be absolutely magical. You're not even going to know yourself by the end of this 6 weeks. So those nutrition plans obviously are going to be divided into first half and second half. So when you're in your first half of your cycle, you want to be eating first half nutrition plans, and you want to be training in the first half using a first half program. So first half of your cycle, that means that you're going to be eating first half nutrition plans, and you're going to be training according to a first half training program. And the same goes in the second half. So you just switch the way that you're eating and the way that you're training based on which half of your cycle that you're in. But your daily practices will be every single day, no matter where you are in your cycle. Just to give you a little bit more of a background around why the 3 daily practices are so important, is largely because it helps with your central nervous system. It helps the way that you think and the way that you speak, because it helps your brain to get some level of clarity. Your period actually starts in your brain. So it's the brain's ability to talk to the ovaries, which that's what hormones are. They are communicators. They're like little messengers. And it starts in your brain. So if your brain cannot talk to your ovaries and the other glands in your body, then you really have no chance of having a period. This is why it's really important that we help to kind of clear out the junk in our brain, to put all of our thoughts on a piece of paper, to help to kind of positively brainwash ourselves with this beautiful meditation. So those are 2 really big aspects around helping to kind of clear out our brain, help us think more clearly, and actually help our brain function better. And the brain, being part of our central nervous system, is actually largely associated with how we feel. Now, there's this thing called the vagus nerve that connects directly our gut to our brain. So if you've ever heard of the expression IBS, you will know that sometimes your brain can think a stressful thought, and you have this physical manifestation where you feel really off. Either you have pain in your tummy, or maybe you get, flatulence, or you get bloated, something along those lines. And so this is a really strong, I think, piece of evidence to show you that there is a huge and really strong connection between how we think and how we feel. And so anything that we can do to sort of help that relationship work really well, just help clear our body of any, kind of junk, is really going to be helpful for how our brain functions and how we think, and therefore our mindset, and therefore how we live our lives every single day, and therefore how we feel about our lives, because obviously this is all interrelated. So the way that I simply see hormonal imbalance cause of two main reasons. You can't detox or you can't switch off. Those really are the two main situations, because with both of those things happening at the same time, that's when you get serious hormonal imbalance. But one of those could be true, and that could lead to hormonal imbalance as well. When it comes to you can't relax, there's obviously a whole bunch of reasons why that happens, but largely I feel that is the most emotional reason behind why you can't relax or switch off. And then the most physical reason why you have hormonal imbalance usually is the inability to detox. And like I said, you can have both at the same time. If you want to take photos, before photos, you absolutely can. I do want to encourage people to normalize, here's my blood test before and here's my blood test after. But I know that a lot of people as well will be able to see physically your energy, effort, and your results on a physical level, because your body shape will definitely change. And that is so fine. I don't want you to be too hung up on the before and after photo, but at the same time, it's a good idea to take one for yourself so that you can see the difference and the change. FlowFit is not about glorifying what our physical body looks like, but it is about helping to show you how much you have transformed. And a photo that is private to you can show you just that. It can show you how your body shape has changed, and you might even look at yourself and not even recognize the person you were 6 weeks ago, and then look at the person you are now and go, wow, maybe she looks almost exactly the same, but she feels so different. She has such energy and vitality now that she didn't have before, so much knowledge that she can't wait to implement into her future, that she can't wait to impart on her friends and her family and her daughters. So it's going to be a very different mentality. Emotionally, you're going to be, I think, a very different person in 6 weeks' time. But it is a good idea, if you do want to take photos, before photos, to take them now. You'll also notice that there's an option for you guys to do some testing. So with the testing, I wanted to give you as much option as possible for you to be able to test before and after. Obviously today's day one, so I want you to test as close to day one as you possibly can. And it's a good idea to retest in 3 cycles time. 2 if you want, that'll be around the 8-week period. That will be once you've finished FlowFit, but usually you'll be able to see the biggest change from now after implementing 6 weeks with me, and then maybe even 6 weeks on your own with everything that you've learned now by yourself and on your own journey, and then retesting everything that you've tested in 3 cycles time. So 3 cycles time for you could be 9 weeks, it could be 15 weeks, it just depends on the length of your cycle. But you will start to see a huge difference in those test results. But do remember that if you're going to do testing, you need to get those ordered ASAP. There's 3 tests that I recommend. I won't go into them too much, but I will share with you the link so that you can go and have a look. Every step of the process, all of the information will be there for you, so I'll be able to share that should you want to test. But I recommend testing in 3 cycles time. That's when you'll see the biggest difference, and that's when you'll really be able to have that longer data to show you just how much FlowFit has impacted your life. And that will also be the time that you will be able to physically see and experience and feel the changes in your cycle. It'll be less PMS. You'll notice differences in your cycle, whether it starts to reduce in its, I was going to say volume. It might not be as painful, but it also might be a bit lighter, more manageable. Maybe you won't have as intense mood swings or cravings the week beforehand. Those are the kinds of things that you're going to notice in 3 cycles time.